Well, staying then with the lives that have been lost and the families that are still searching for missing loved ones, a call now being made by the National Funeral Practitioners Association of South Africa for people to call mortuaries, especially if they're looking for missing loved ones. Julie Mbutuma is from the National Funeral Practitioners Association of South Africa and joins us tonight. Julie, good evening, and I certainly hope that the line is going to withhold this time around. I know that there are lots of difficulties around connection, but let's talk about this call that is made by, the funeral practitioners for people to reach out to mortuaries. It's such a difficult thing because as the search and rescue operations continue, the hope by many families would be that they'd be able to find their loved ones still alive.
Good evening, Kathy, and thank you for having me. Yes, I do understand that everyone lives in the hope that they're going to find their loved ones alive. But the reality of the matter is that the flood started on Tuesday, and we are now on Friday evening. That's like 3 days down the line already. Chances of anybody being found alive right now are quite slim. We've seen many houses that have been caved in. In some cases, you can't even see basically anything except just rubble. So the chances of basically finding somebody alive under that rubble are next to none. That is why we've asked basically that families go to their local mortuaries, as in the forensic services mortuaries, just to see if their loved ones are not there. Instead of basically going through the extended pain of looking for them when they may actually, be closer to getting closure when they find them basically in the mortuary services. I know it's something basically that nobody looks forward to, but it's a reality that we have to face.
Julie, mortuaries have been overwhelmed alongside disaster management officials and emergency responders just due to the scale of what we have seen. Talk to us about how you have been managing that, because we've heard stories of some communities that haven't been able to access, services of funeral parlors, having to carry their loved ones to centralized places, line them up along the same street and wait at least until a time where they can be assisted.
That's very true, Kathy, because in most cases, basically the forensic services vehicles are basically few and far between as it is. If we look at basically a few months back when we had a case of, I'm going to refer to another case, but we had a case of looting that happened a few months back. And in the same period of looting, we had basically where families basically had to wait for hours on end and sometimes even days on end for forensic services to pitch up. It was at that time that we made a call basically as the Funeral Parlors Association, as NFPA SA, that our members basically assist families in basically removing and not waiting for forensic services. It's the same even now, where we've basically made the call that if forensic services are overwhelmed, we know that they basically got SAP is assisting them at the moment. But even then, too, that's not enough right now. So where we can, we are assisting them basically in terms of having the removals done, instead of letting basically a family member wait along the roadside with their loved one.
So, Julie, what do you advise people to do? Because, it's such a difficult process, again, for many families. I mean, one of the stories that we've heard of this week has been of a father that had to carry the lifeless body of his 6-year-old son for about 10 kilometers just to be able to access a road that still had vehicles traveling on it. So what are you advising families to do in this situation?
Right now we're advising families that if they cannot get hold of forensic services or the SAPS department basically to come and remove their loved ones who are basically lifeless at that point in time, to give us a call basically as the Funeral Practitioners Association of South Africa, being a FUPA SA. And our members are on call 24/7 basically to assist with those removals. As it stands basically, our association and its members basically have basically made the call to families that if they are in need of our services, even for funerals, and they can't afford the services at this point in time, because look, we're looking at a provincial disaster at the moment. There are some people basically that have 3 or 4 family members who have passed away at the same time, and obviously they can't afford those funerals. We've made the call basically that we will be donating those funerals, and there are already quite a few funerals that have been donated, and that will be carried out basically in the process of the next week or so.
At this point, do we have a clear picture in as far as the bodies that are already at mortuaries, how many of them remain unaccounted for?
I don't have an exact figure for you, Kathy, but there's quite a number of bodies that have not yet been identified. And when I say quite a number, it's basically in excess of 50 so far.
Mm. And when we look at then the process that will need to be undertaken or triggered from here on, in as far as I imagine in some instances DNA testing, etc. I mean, how long are families potentially going to be waiting for here?
Look, generally when it comes to DNA testing, Kathy, the process right now is not as long as it used to take before. Generally, within a week's time, they are normally able to get their results back.
And in as far as the funerals are concerned, because we did hear a call, particularly from the provincial government, urging families not to bury their loved ones as yet, saying that they're asking for a bit of time. How are you as funeral practitioners dealing and managing that?
I know with the provincial department, they've asked for families not to bury as soon as possible, mostly because they want to assist. But we all know that, you know, the wheels of government turn very slowly. And you can't expect a family to be waiting for such a long time for the funeral to happen. In most cases, it's some people's culture even basically to bury as soon as basically a loved one has passed on. Some deal with cremations, and you know, for instance, in some cultures, it's even basically overnight. They don't spend more than 24 hours. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit unrealistic to ask for people to wait and not bury their loved ones as soon as possible. A lot of people want to get closure. You can't sit with more than 3 or 4 bodies in the mortuary and you're not getting them buried. So from our point of view, as soon as they can get assistance with getting the burials done, and as soon as graves are available, because one of the major issues right now, I think, is with the floods, even the cemeteries are flooded at the moment. So getting graves at the moment is a bit of an issue. The eThekwini municipality has basically said that they've reopened their cemeteries, but I'm looking at the impending rain over this weekend, and with basically what was said by your weather team, basically that, you know, there's impending floods again over the weekend because the rain, the ground is already saturated. Mm.
So as it stands, Julie, are you able to give us an indication, and this is specifically for those funerals that are linked to these floods, are they funerals that are scheduled for this weekend?
None for this weekend as yet, Kathy. We are in consultation basically with families. I know there are some that are scheduled for next weekend. There are 4 that are scheduled for next weekend, which we've got members basically from our association that have donated. I'm going to be going with basically some of our members from our National Executive Committee on Sunday to basically visit some of the families. Those are basically the ones in Potchefstroom. We've got Hammersdale, we've got Verulam, we've got Claremont, we've got Cloudwater, and I think Pinetown as well, if I'm not mistaken. Just to visit those families and see what other services that they require. We're going to be basically assisting in terms of blankets, food, baby food, and other essentials as well.
Julie Mbutuma, let's leave it there for tonight. She is with the National Funeral Practitioners Association of South Africa, and that again continues to paint the scale of devastation that families are facing.